okay.
These don't leave the studio anymore.
Right.
I'm done. Like, and that's the problem. That's why I really don't DJ anymore. Is because like I'm not willing to take my 1200s anywhere, and I'm not willing to play on a controller. So, see ya. I can play at the Gold Mark.
I get it.
Like, who else has a set of 12s that are like fully operational anywhere in Pittsburgh right now?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I still tote mine everywhere I go. I have a hip hop bar crawl in DC that I have to do. Like, I know a lot of their spaces are small, like terribly, terribly small. So I had to talk to the promoter. I'm like, but I don't like controllers. I'm 6'5". I got 9.5-inch hands. You know what I mean? So, long fingers, long arms. It's like, man, I don't own a controller. But their spaces in their DJ booths are small. So I'm like, I said, yo, Reg, you gotta make some concessions or something. I'm bringing my tables, dog.
Yes.
I don't own a controller, so this is what we're doing.
Yeah, but you can drive to DC.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely drive to DC, and I always, because I go back and forth. Co-owner of my radio station that I have,
Digital
analog radio. Digital analog. Started from the vinyl, now we're everywhere. Everybody's like, but it's an oxymoron. No, there's a reason for it. Started from the vinyl, now we're everywhere.
Yeah, that's like a rite of passage for DJs. That's kind of how you can tell whether somebody's really old school or not, right?
Oh, yeah.
Did you really carry crates?
Yeah.
Like, and that really is it. Like Bonix carried crates, Selecta carried crates, Blakk Steel
carried plenty.
Big Phil,
I believe.
Yeah.
So when Phil and Selecta and all of those guys were in the East doing like the shadow lounges and like the smaller venues, I was in Whammo, and I was doing the large clubs in the Strip. So I was doing, also did Rock Jungle, which held 2,500 people. My weekly Sunday night gig after Dow's, which held close to 800, was Crowbar, which held 1,100. So I'm in all of these commercials, these huge commercial spaces. But the last event that I carried crates, I'll never forget it. Last event that I carried crates was a club in the Strip District. It's no longer there though. It's called Bash, and it was in the winter. And I had condensed my night to 4 crates, that means I was playing everything I carried.
Right. 4 crates is 4 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
a crate is how many records?
Just depends on the size of the crate.
50, 60.
No, I had a larger crate, so this one held more. You know what I mean? So it really, like I said, it just depends.
These are like the mail carriers, basically. That's what I used to rock, because
I know what you're talking about.
You and I have this PTS connection.
Yes,
that we have to get into.
I tried to use those. I couldn't do it because you know what I mean. It was kind of flimsy for me. It felt like the bottom was coming out of it. Nah, so I actually got crates, and
plus they wobble, and it's not good for the records. Like there's too much mobility left and right.
So I had the big milk crates. I still actually have them in my garage.
Oh, milk crates are better.
So so I had the milk crates, and I had like the biggest one I had, which was what I would stick my prime time set in, was this big gray crate. So I would line all the prime time records. Then I had an orange crate for like my reggae and my go-go. Then I had a blue crate for R&B, and then I had another green crate, which had a little bit more hip-hop in it, and a couple reggaeton, and some house and something like that. But the main meat of the night was in this huge gray crate, which was bigger than all of them.
Yeah, yeah, and that was hip hop.
Yeah, that was primarily like hip hop, R&B, all of the
club
bangers.
Anthems.
Yep, all of the club bangers. So I would end up changing those records. Yeah, I would change those records in and out, but have it concise.
You were getting the promos because you had the PTS connection
and the Whammo connection too. So I was getting it all. So a lot of my singles, actually a lot of my albums too, don't have pictures because I'm getting the early copies. And then if I had the test pressing, a lot of it has my handwriting because I had to write on it what it was. So I was getting a lot of those too.
What were your roles at the different radio stations?
At WPTS, when I finally got on, man, I walked in as the hip hop director, and so it came with all of the responsibility for that sector. Not only did I get the time slot, Friday nights at 9, I got the time slot and I got a list of the record labels that I had to call. So it was like, all right, well, in order to keep these records coming in, you got to call these people weekly, blah, 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 blah. Here's the list. And so I walked in with that. I eventually became a station manager at some point.
Wow. Wow.
But yeah.
And Whammo, you had like a show.
Yeah. Whammo tried to sabotage me on many different fronts. And I tend to believe a part of that is because of the things that I did at PTS. It's honest. Like a lot of the time, and this is how I was able to get a lot of whatever I wanted at WPTS. I ended up generating super high numbers there. So back before they had these people meters, which is a digital thing where they determine how many is listening and from where. They just had the standard Arbitron numbers. So that's what we were privy to at WPTS before the Now system. Now it's a completely different monster. But the Arbitron numbers had me at 250,000 listeners on on a 16-watt station.
A lot of people don't realize that because it's broadcasting from the top of the cathedral, it has range to Youngstown. It has range
But
to
that was when it was at the
whole
middle of the
East
dial.
End.
But once it moved to 92.1, we lost a lot of that.
Yeah.
And I was there for that transition because when it was at 98.5, that's when I started. So what ended up happening is even though the antenna's on top of the cathedral, WPTS has always been 16 watts, right? But because it was in dead middle of the dial, the signal carried. So it did go as far west as Youngstown,
Wow.
as far south as Morgantown, as far east as Greensburg. And because I had that whole region,
Wow.
quarter of a million listeners, the station gave me whatever I wanted. It's like, okay, well, then that's when they started. If the labels didn't pay for me to go to New York, the station did. And I would go and represent them at the CMJs and the various conferences, et cetera. Any conference that came up where they felt like WPTS needed a face, immediately they paid for everything.
What years was this, and what would you have been playing on your set?
I was definitely playing hip hop. It was 100% a hip hop show. It was from 90 to 99. You know what I'm saying? Now, when I finished school, I wanted to keep the shift. So I did. I was able to keep the shift. They let me, because now they weren't sending me on no more trips. But it's like, yeah, you can continue to do this as an alum. I was like, okay, cool, we'll bet. And I wanted to do that because before I became a Pitt student, I was coming up on WPTS listening to when they first started hip hop there, which was in 85. It's when they first started. So I still have those tapes from when I would listen on the radio and record off the radio from WPTS. So that was Kevin Huff and Mel Plowden, God bless the dad. They started it. And they worked up the relationship with Stedfords for the radio station. They worked up the relationship with Collector's 12-inch. They literally hit the pavement and paved the way for all of that I walked into. They did the research for the phone numbers, and this list kept growing and changing, and they did all of that work. And basically, I inherited it and benefited, but I also grew it. You know what I mean? I helped it to elevate. So it's not like I just got in the position and rested on my laurels. It was one of those things where that show, because I grew up on it, meant so much to me. I was always big in hip hop as far as the culture and the music and everything tied to it. And that represented the closest thing to a gateway to the hip hop mecca to me was WPTS's radio show, because it was raw. It was unfiltered. It was everything, man. So when I got there, I wanted to carry the tradition, but grow it in my fashion.
Amazing. Did you have to play radio edits?
Yes, actually, I did up until a certain hour. So you remember the safety harbor period, right?
I think so. That like after 11 p.m. or something, you were good.
It was initially, if I'm not
It
mistaken,
was like FCC.
Yeah. No, definitely, it was 100% FCC. But I want to say initially when it started, it was after midnight. Then it lowered to 10 p.m.
And also, it was like certain words were good before, and certain other words were good after. So it wasn't like all free reign.
Right.
It was, you could say like ass and titties or something.
Man. It was wild. So, and I'm the type of person that if you tell me that I have no type of no restraints,
Yeah.
I'm gonna test that.
No holds barred.
I'm gonna test that. So one night I ended up finding out exactly how many restraints I had. So, I was like, man, I'm playing a lot of this wild music on the air. You know what I mean? After the safety harbor period, ain't nobody said nothing. It's okay.
Yep.
So I ended up getting a promo tape from Loud Records. So at the time, Mobb Deep's infamous album, White Hot. And they were testing a single, so they put a song on that. Some of their newer artists at that time, like the Alcoholics and different artists like that. And then they had Akinelli. They put Akinelli's Put It In Your Mouth on there. So I had listened to the tape beforehand. I was like, yo, I mean, I can see the art in certain levels of lewdness as long as it's presented proper, right?
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to play this. So I played it closer to the end of the show. Monday morning. I come in, I was greeted. It's like, hey, remember Ron? I don't know if you met Ron Asbury. He was the general manager at the time.
Not sure.
Older guy. I love that guy. I come in, hey, listen, you're doing great with your radio show, but got a phone call about a song that you played. And immediately I knew exactly what I said. You right. I said, nah. I said, I just wanted to see, he's like, I get it. Don't worry about
That's
it. Just
cool.
make sure we don't do that again. And, just to make sure. And he gave me the FCC manual, which was just thick. And I had to sign off on the paper, says, yeah, okay, cool. I went through it, I understood. I said, nah. I said, it'll never happen again. I get it. I said, it's cool.
Yeah.
But it was good. I had a lot of free reign. Like I could play Biggie's Dreams and get away with it. But Akinelli's Put In Your Mouth was a little too far.
Over the bar.
Yeah.
One of my favorite over the line, kind of pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable in terms of profanity, not profanity, came from a WPTS story where I was DJing with my DJ partner on PTS and then later on WRBB in Boston.
Nice.
A guy named Carlton Goals.
Okay.
Also a Detroiter, guy who I share a lot with, later would live with in Boston, whatever. We were DJing this PTS dance and he put on a copy of a Lil Louis record called French Kiss.
Yeah, that's a house joint, right? Yeah.
It's a house joint that's 13 minutes long. It's the whole side of the record, and it's a reenactment of an orgasm, similar to like the Dark Side of the Moon joint, where
we got away with playing them in our union parties. I know about, that's why I said I know about the song. In fact, I just played it on Saturday. So
it's a jam. Yeah. It blew me away. I'd never heard anything like it. And it does this whole thing with the tempo going up and down. It's like, one of those natural transition records. I was talking to people about, like, there's a lot of them out there. Wow. Amazing. Tell me the story of how you found music and how you found hip hop.
Well, I grew up in a household where there was plenty of music. So my mother played a lot of soul and played some funk. So as far as like Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, and she was a huge Marvin Gaye fan, huge Earth, Wind and Fire fan. But then I would also hear Bootsy, and I would hear Parliament Funkadelic and different things of the like. So she was constantly playing music. So what would end up happening, which was the wildest, when I was in single digit years, my bedtime was between 8 and 8:30, right? But then she would go soak in the tub and put on this music. How am I going to sleep? So I'm sitting there listening to these records, and I'm constantly listening. So I was already really adept into the music at that particular point. But then when hip hop started to filter its way to the airwaves here in Pittsburgh, is when I really, really fell in love with it. I was like, oh, what is this? And this is something that is relatable. Because I'm like, I can't sing. I couldn't hold a note if it had handles. But this is relatable and it's creative. And immediately I fell in love with it.
Do you remember some of the first like hip hop songs you would have heard? I guess it would have been like Apache, right? Or
well, Apache came well after Rapper's Delight.
Right.
But the very first hip hop song on Wax isn't by a hip hop group. It's by the Fatback Band.
Right.
And the name of the song is called King Tim III.
Mm-hmm. With it too, what you wanna do. Well,
and I still have that 45
cool
that I got at 9 years old.
People talk about another one too with like pig. What is it? Pig pie, pork something. There's another like super early one, but I mean, Gil Scott Heron. Like, there's a lot of people have rapped on records. It's just, there's poetry, right? Like,
exactly.
It's just like if it's prose, right? It's maybe it's not rap, but if you're rhyming over, it's like this slow transition.
Exactly, and it was more of the rhythmic portion because I mean, when you got Gil Scott Heron and the Last Poets, what they did was they spoke their pieces, so that was original. I mean, like early spoken word to music. Was them. But when you had King Tim III hitting the pockets of the band, you know what I mean? That was where the difference really kicked in.
Yeah.
So between that, Rapper's Delight was shortly behind that. Then Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, Freedom, which I love that beat. This day, I still love that. And those are some of the earlier ones that I really started to gravitate to.
You were in the Hill.
Yes.
What do you think, like, what was the Hill like at that point?
Oh, man. My favorite word for it is very communal. We all came together. I mean, everybody would have boom boxes or, whoever had the boom box with the good batteries would pull a radio out and then, have a tape with a radio blasting while we play baseball or football or Not It, which is a tag game and things like that, and had the music going. And then we had a couple older cats who were like teens, early 20s at that time, would stick a speaker in the window and blast the music that way. So it was great times. It was great times. And then where I grew up, I grew up on up in Francis Street Projects, the 800 block of Francis Street. My court, I lived across the court from George Benson's brother.
That's right. Yeah, your grandma babysat that man.
And babysat George Benson.
Unbelievable.
That was the first time I saw a limo and when I first met him.
Unbelievable. Wow. What a Pittsburgh legend.
Yes.
Give Me the Night.
Yes.
On Broadway.
Yes.
That one might be better. The live version where he's just singing while he's playing every note. And like the real virtuosos.
Right.
When they're soloing, they're singing in their heads.
Right.
But he kind of actually was singing the notes
with the guitar. Yep. And the crazy thing is at the time he was still getting heavy rotation on Whammo. So again, one of the artists I recorded off the radio, because at the time, Give Me the Night, Turn Your Love Around, Love Times Love. Oh, those are some of my favorites by him. And then as I got older, and once I started realizing before any of that, oh no, This Masquerade too. Got to factor in This Masquerade. But as I got older, when I found out that he did jazz prior, it's like, whoa, well, wait a minute. And I started digging deeper and started reaching back and starting to find those records and listening to some of that music. I'm like, this is amazing.
Well, Pittsburgh's a big jazz town, and the Hill is especially, right?
Yeah,
I mean, there's still
Grill is the building still standing?
Yep. Some legendary legendary bones. I don't know. I guess nothing's become of the building, right? Is it
no.
preserved status or
Yes,
anything?
yes, yes,
That's
yes,
good.
yes. They landmarked it, so it'll never
Something.
get torn down. I'm not 100% sure. I know at one point, prior to his passing, Franco Harris was going to put up some money to get it rehabbed. And they were talking about potentially reopening it, but with his passing,
Right.
hence that whole notion. So nobody's really discussed it ever since. But the
Holler
building
at
is still
Doc.
there.
Gotta holler at Doc.
Yeah, I mean,
That money doesn't disappear.
Right, true indeed, but it just depends on if that's Doc's passion. If that's not Doc's passion,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But yeah, so
Maybe if we would have let him become mayor.
it's possible. It's possible.
Instead of Ravenstall's crooked.
Yeah, that's a whole different beast.
Anyway, so you really felt like growing up in the Hill was like the place. It was a beautiful experience growing up. And,
yes.
And you stayed here for college. How did you end up going to Pitt? And were you already DJing, or what was the story?
I really didn't. I actually wanted to leave my family. I wanted to get out of Pittsburgh. So my mother snookered me in order to stay here, which is how I wound up at Pitt. Literally, I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to go. At the time, my father was living in a LA suburb called Oceanside. So as long as you were a California resident, you could go to school out there for free at that time. I don't know if they changed that law, but so even though me and him weren't vibing at the time, like, look, man, I'm trying to come change codes. I want to go to school. I wanted to go to USC.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I wanted to run away from the Pittsburgh family. I wanted out. So my mother said, if you stay, I'll get you a car.
Let's go.
You know what I mean? I just graduated from high school at 17. Car, just got my license. Car, All right. So I applied to every school here. And I applied to CMU as kind of like halfway something to do. But half I was already attending their art program in high school. So I figured, because I wanted to go to school at that time to be a commercial artist. Well, I didn't realize they were Ivy League. And I was doing a little bit too much dirt in high school. So I was like, all right, so this won't fly. So it's all right, well then, let's see what Pitt does. I applied to Pitt, DJing, and I forget what the other school was outside of CMU. And I actually got accepted to both Pitt and Duquesne, because even though I didn't take the report periods seriously, when it came down to aptitude testing, I tested out of almost everything. You know what I mean? So I tested out of English in 4th grade, and I tested out of math in 7th. So it's one of those things where I was intelligent. It's just a matter of what I knew versus what I did. And that's what Pitt accepted me on. Well, he knows the material. Even though his report card looks like he knows it, he can do it. And they brought me into an intern program called USEP. And basically it was kind of like a proving ground to see what you would do as a student. So USEP classes were easy. It felt like 13th grade. So it's like, all right, well, whatever. So I did that and blew through that in and out and just started working, maneuvering. Did I come in as a DJ? No. Actually, I was rapping at the time. So I was writing rhymes, which was another reason why I wanted to get into the radio station, because I saw that as a gateway to potentially help me towards my MC career. But
were there any MCs out of Pittsburgh that had made it at that point?
That had made it per se at that point when I came in '88? No.
Yeah.
No.
But
there were MCs doing it. So I grew up with Mel Man.
Right.
Me and him are both from the Hill.
But he's the legendary beat maker that Dre took to LA.
And there's a whole story for that.
He was an MC too?
Yes.
Okay.
So he ended up, he had a crew. He started with a crew of friends that we grew up with called the Hardcore Crew. So they really made noise in the entire city with a song called The Crew Got Paid. And it was just relatable stories about stuff that everybody in the city could relate to, could understand. And the song was a huge hit. They didn't sell it, but it got WPTS airplay. And it was a big deal when it got played. I still have it on cassette from the first time they played it. And funny part is I digitized that to give to other DJs because DJs didn't still like, yo, do you have the crew got paid? Yep, got it. And I send them that copy.
And people give me a hard time because my MP3s are 256. Like, okay,
listen,
shit works.
Happens. It
Like,
happens.
if you got the right stuff on the tape,
right,
it doesn't matter what the
Right.
quality is. If you
Right.
play the right record, doesn't
Right.
matter.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would sit there and I made a couple tweaks to it, but
A little compression.
yeah. But so Mel blew with that in the city. And then he separated from them and started doing his own solo thing. So he put out a solo album called The Mailman Delivers.
Mm.
So this was right before Tuffy Tuff released Ghetto Soundcheck. So they kind of were back to back, but Mel came first. So Mel put out The Mailman Delivers. This is an 8-song album. 10 selections, but 8 songs. So the tape itself sold 10,000 copies. When he dropped the tape, we were on the cusp of CDs. So then he re-releases it on CD, sells another 10,000 on CD. That's how the labels came. You know what I mean? You figure 20,000 at $5 to $10 a pop. Yeah, the labels are coming for that. The labels are coming.
Smell the money.
Yeah, exactly. Because the label that came for him first was a smaller LA label called Hollywood Records. So Hollywood Records is who organized Confusion, Pharoah Monch's group. That's who they were signed to originally. Them, the South Central soundtrack came out on that. Public Enemy, before they were called Public Enemy, had a song on there. Public Enemy was called Spectrum City.
Right. They had their own internal beat making crew, kind of like how Outkast did. How they
Bomb
have
Squad.
exactly.
Exactly.
How Outkast had Dungeon Family.
Exactly.
PE had Bomb Squad
Yep.
that was making their beats for them.
Yep.
They had this whole Afrocentricity kind of nation situation with the Minister of Information. I mean,
Yeah.
Professor Griff, right?
Yep.
I mean, it was a whole situation.
Right. But Mel
Amazing.
was going to be signed to that label.
Wow.
With them, with those groups. And the only reason why I know the portion of it that I do know is not directly from Mel, even though me and Mel are still friends to this day. Even though he comes home from time to time. I haven't seen him too much since he's been home. I mean, since he comes back and forth whenever he comes back. But I was friends with the guy at the label. I know his last name was Benson. I forget what his first name was. But me and him got cool. WPTS. We got cool at WPTS. And he was like, yo, you know what I mean? We courting your man. We trying to sign your man. Blah, 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 this, that, and the third. And he told me what they offered him. And I said, well, you know what I'm saying? I said, smaller label. I said, I get it with that, man. I said, but I don't know. I said, I don't know how well that's going to work. I said, the fact that you guys are out there and you have a certain level of distribution, but to be determined. And it didn't work. You know what I mean? Because he didn't really, nothing came out of it. So what he ended up doing was he went out there, talked to them, spent a little bit of time. He came back home. Then he puts out a 5-song EP on CD called, the EP is called Knock 'Em Off. And that was also the single, which the only music video he's ever done is to that song. And that's on YouTube.
Yep.
And the guy who produced the video show that I was on, Underground Hip Hop Video Magazine, Adam shot the video. You know what I mean? He shot it, edited, and all that.
This is
Mr. Sandman.
Sandman.
Yep.
That's right, with a Z. Mista with a Z.
Yep. So he shot and produced that video.
Amazing.
And it was off of that EP. So after that, but during that transition, because oh man, see, I can unspool this so many ways.
It's fun.
Because Mel was the one that found Butter. So Mel found Butter, but at this time, Sam Snead was already out there in LA. So what ended up happening was Snead reached out for Bud Bud reaches back for Mel for looking out for him here. And that is how the three of them, well, that's how the three of them ended up out there. Well, Sneed got out there by the way to K Solo. Because Sneed did over half Solo's last album, the Time's Up album.
Amazing. Wow. You talked about how you almost ended up at USC. Did you ever have second thoughts? Like, what would have happened to your career if you would have made it out to the West Coast like the rest of those guys?
Nah, I mean, because I was not too vested, and by the time that I had made the decision to go to school, I had visited. I didn't like LA. I liked San Diego. San Diego was nice.
San Diego's dope.
Because we went to go visit. We spent a couple days in San Diego while I was out there. I was out there for like 3 weeks to a month. I wasn't a big fan of LA. I just didn't, something about how it felt at that time just didn't feel
Very
right.
plastic.
It was
superficiality, right?
Yeah,
Hollywood. It's
I mean,
Hollywood.
you
The whole
figure-
thing is
But it was, everything was also spaced out so far. So
Yeah.
at the time, you figure when I go out there, I was only 15.
Yeah.
So it's not like I could really drive or just 100% be on my own, but everything was, I'm like, all right, well, what if I want to gyro, man? We had to go miles. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then that's how I got introduced to desert temperatures. Like,
yeah, it fluctuates.
oh my God.
Yeah,
like
hard.
60 degrees is like 32 here.
Yeah.
And I mean, I legit got cold.
Yeah.
At
There's
60
no-
degrees. It
Because
was
it's arid. There's no humidity.
it was crazy.
Yeah.
But I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't really, I would have been out there 100% on business as far as the schooling. I didn't really, like I said, as far as LA, the city, I wasn't moved. Even though, LA was a big deal. I was just, I didn't really think twice about it, especially once I really started to find some of the things that I wanted here. And I really didn't think twice about it.
And build some of them if they didn't exist.
Right. And it was wild once I got things moving. And once I got into the position and I got things moving, then things just gravitated to me. It came to me. So, like literally, so I graduated from Shenley when I was 17. I turned 18 in September of that year. But by the time I got to Pitt, I'm like, all right, cool, immediately. Because I had hung out at the radio station before then. I graduated, I'm here, I'm a student, let's go. And the guy who was there at the time did not let me on. They did not let me on.
Mm.
I was heartbroken.
Mm.
So I'm like, well, what the world, man? I mean, I'm like, okay, it's a few knobs and a bunch of records. I know the music and I know knobs. Couldn't get on. So the next year, I applied. And again, same guy, did not let me on.
Wow.
And him and I knew each other, we were friends. I'm like, well, what's the deal, man? I'm just trying to get a show. I'm not trying to get your show.
Right.
Because at the time, he had that slot. I'm like, I just wanted on. I didn't want that. I wanted to carve out my own thing. But then it ended up happening is, so he ended up graduating. That guy ended up graduating. Another guy took over. And he was a senior. And he really didn't care. You know what I mean? I mean, he did the show as something to do. You know what I mean? My approach was completely different. I'm like, man, if I get in front of this, watch what happens. And, he just kind of semi-happenstantially just like, all right, well, cool, man. Out of the 3 people that I came in with as a training class, he's like, yo. He says, so I'm going to turn this over to you. You know what I mean? You, this slot, you clearly take this way serious. And he was just kind of nonchalant and dismissive of how serious I took it because he didn't know what my plans were. So he was like, all right, I'll let you take it over. Matter of fact, you'll be the director. I'm like, for real? And I was super hyped up, super hyped. Oh man, you'd have thought I got $1 million contract. I was so happy. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna finally get into it. And then he gave me the list of numbers for the record labels. Now, mind you, got to remember, At the time, I'm writing raps, I'm trying to record demos, and I'm trying to get to these very people that he literally just gives me 8 to 9 pages of phone numbers for.
It was like kismet. Perfect situation.
Right.
These are the people I need.
Right.
Yeah, I can call them and ask them for their artists' CDs because I can play them on the. Oh, and by the way, let me tell you about this up and coming rapper I heard about, MC Blakk Steel.
Well, and what
did you
ended
have
up
the name
happening?
yet or no?
No, no, that was not my first name, which was wild. My first name. I mean, if you ever listen to Select every now and then, whenever he wants to be facetious, he'll say it. But my original MC name was Chili Mose.
Chili Mose.
And I used to try to hype it up and jazz it by breaking it down and spelling it.
Yeah.
And I tried to work with it. It didn't really work and it didn't fit, but I couldn't think of anything else. And then
CHIL.
CHI, the double OY, the M, the O, the S, the T. And I will put that into the raps.
Yeah.
So
you know what? It's a problem with it, right? Is it sounds like food, like my name. People always give me a hard time about beef tips because it sounds like beef tips.
Right.
But the Chili Mose is the same thing. It sounds edible.
Right.
You gotta watch out for those edible names.
Right.
People will rag on them too much.
So what ended up happening was, as an MC locally, it became difficult to be respected. So what I ended up having to do is I was battling cats. I was literally, I'm like, all right, well, who your nicest? Him? I don't see it. So we would go at it. And the thing about battling at the time, it's not like anything I wrote was off the table.
Of course.
You have to talk about everything in real time, and it has to be rhythmic. It can't just be talking. So somebody had the beatbox, and you got to rhyme to the beatbox.
Absolutely.
And
this is a freestyle battle, long time before the writtens became the standard.
And
you know, I had one of the greatest rap battlers of all time in that chair a couple weeks ago. He's my neighbor.
Who?
Real Deal.
Oh yeah, that boy's nice.
He's right up the street.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Salute the Real Deal. That boy, that guy's nice. Yeah. I've watched him dismantle folks.
It's crazy how amazing he is at what he does and how high of a level he's kept performing at.
Mm-hmm.
And yet Pittsburgh does not give him the love he deserves at all.
And that's because Pittsburgh didn't really get into, like, once the new battle culture kicked in.
Right. It's a total different ball of wax.
But they, you know what I mean, Pittsburgh as a whole didn't watch it. You know what I mean? So it took hip hoppers that were into lyrics and things like that to see him.
I think it's important because to me, like you said, you were battling in order to develop as an artist, in order to establish yourself, in order to get the respect.
Mm-hmm.
Battling is crucial to what hip hop is, in my estimation.
100%.
This is where it's gone. I think it's important to at least kind of follow it to some degree. I get that it doesn't overlap perfectly with commercial viability and sales, but I still think it's an important element of what the culture is.
Hip hop is, and pretty much overall has always been a competitive sport. And it all comes from where it comes from. So when you talk about the origins of hip hop out of the Bronx, it was a way to get the gangbangers together and not beat each other with sticks and bats or stab each other with knives. It's to bring the gangs together and form this unity. But if they still had friction, instead of a fight, they would have a dance-off. You know what I mean? And then once the lyrics start to progress, well, then they started rhyming against each other. So now you get the Jazzy 5 MCs versus the Cold Crush Brothers. You see what I'm saying? You start to get different things like that happening because it's, all right, cool. You really pissed me off enough that I really want to separate your head from your shoulders. But out of a sense of peace, this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to get my respect anyway, this way.
Yeah.
And that's what hip hop has been based on. So almost all parts of the facets. So from the dancing to definitely to the rhyming portion and DJing. All of these different things were competitive.
And graffiti big time, right?
Yes.
Bombing.
Yes.
Getting up.
Yes.
You know, who can get up bigger, higher, faster,
the
the
bigger
whole
the
train
tag,
car,
the cleaner, the neater, all of that.
New,
So
different types of caps and
it's
everything. It's
right.
always been about who can do it better, bigger,
100%.
faster. Even from the origins, right? In Jamaica, the sound system culture, there were people
sound clashes.
who could
Whose
have the
system is
biggest. Yep. And then, you know, legendary sound systems with Cool Herc. You know, he happened to have the biggest sound system. Otherwise, we might call breakdancing something else.
Right.
Paradise Gray was talking about it on this podcast with Questlove
right.
a couple weeks ago.
Right.
You know, we might call B-boys and B-girls. I forget what it was called, but some other shit.
Right. Yeah, no, 100%. At 100%. And you're right. But it's always been that. So it's always been a competitive nature with the beast. So the whole thing of battling that's not a foreign thing.
We have to talk about the DJ battle that was in Pittsburgh last week, too. On Thursday, a week ago.
I heard about it. I didn't go.
There was a DJ battle hosted by PDC.
Yeah. Shouts to Petey. Petey, my man. I like Petey.
At the Thunderbird.
Right. It was
amazing.
Battle Gories. The only reason why I didn't go is because I didn't understand how this is supposed to work.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So to me, it wouldn't have made sense, and I probably would have been agitated. Like, to me, a straight up and down battle,
Yep.
a DJ battle is one of those things where, all right, cool, you come with a pre-planned routine. You got to go. You got 90 seconds to put on this show, do what you do. And I'm used to those type of battles. So Battle Gories, I'm like, well, how does this work? And nobody explained it to me. So I was like, yeah, all right, cool.
I think this is the second or third year he's done it.
Yes.
And eventually, I really do think that that he'll be able to take it outside of Pittsburgh. It's a really good idea. I mean, the categories to me are kind of arbitrary. Like basically everybody just gets 4 rounds.
Right.
There's 4 categories, but really it's 4 5-minute rounds.
Okay.
So you rock for 20 minutes or whatever it is.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I think that was basically how I thought about it. I really didn't see the categories as factoring in in a major way.
Right.
Kind of like in Freestyle, right? That was kind of like the last DJ battle kind of format that fell apart that Red Bull was putting on.
And that was the problem, because when it started being, okay, cool, we're going to throw this theme at you and you got to stick to this theme versus the actual rawness of the battles, like the old school new music seminars and the DMCs for around the world, when it stopped being those and started becoming these type of boutique battles, let's call them that.
Yeah, little
when it
niche.
started, I'm like,
not for you.
No, because I mean, at that particular point, you're canning the raw nature of it. You can't can raw.
You want that no holds barred, that MMA, get in the octagon, kick him in the face.
Ultimate creative. Like, literally to the point where, like, the DMC started making the world news type of deal.
Yeah.
There was one guy I wanted out of, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was out of Germany.
Swamp?
Huh?
Is it Swamp?
It's possible. I forget his name.
I think that dude is German, and that shit was crazy.
Okay, so, but this guy DJ with one hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, the turntables were both on one side. And he literally was matching the speed of 2 hands with one hand. Bop, 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 bop,
I'm just thinking about Rock Raider right now.
Yes.
Rest in peace, man.
Yes,
wow.
yes, the great.
Unbelievable.
Grandmaster. I mean, the things that he did was unreal. And his timing was super impeccable. But there again, what if you were to try to bottle what he did? You take what is supposed to be out of it. And I'm
adding rules and
right.
Fair enough. Anyway, shout out to B-Ren for winning Battle Gories. Shout out to the judges.
Yeah.
Nugget,
and listen,
Simmy,
shout out to PD
Fed
for
the God.
doing something different. I appreciate him for doing something different, because that's something that's needed. You know, it's an outlet, a good outlet.
Totally. Yeah. And right, it's not just another club night. I mean, there's probably enough Taylor Swift versus Beyonce parties.
Pretty much.
Pretty
much.
Something. It's something. We're bringing hip hop back. What was it about hip hop when you heard it that made you say, like, this is for me? You know, because it could have been anything, right? You could have been a reggae DJ, or you could have gotten into rock music.
It was the vibe. It was definitely the vibe of it and the feel of it. Because you sit there and figure, primarily hip hop, you're taking old funk and disco records, and then you're turning it into something else. So you got Genius of Love, you're changing it to something else. You're taking Funkin' for Jamaica, you're changing it to something else. You get James Brown's Get Up, Get Into It, Get Involved, you're tearing it into something else. Give It Up or Turn It Loose. And it literally changes the entire feel of it, and the feel that they were creating is what was hitting me. And it's not that it took anything away from the original songs. It's it's just a different feel. It's just a different vibe. And I was rolling with this vibe. And then when friends of mine started doing it, now it became more accessible on top of the vibe. So it really heightened it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you got into it as an MC, but how did you pivot to starting to play records?
What ended up happening was the guy that was DJing for me, he was a super duper part-time DJ, full-time hustler. So he had never rocked a party like a day in his life, but he can cut his ass off. So I mean, and so he would, show me that type of stuff here and there, but not really. So what ended up happening is, I'm sitting there trying to work on these demos. Well, now he's no longer really accessible because of his hustle. And now I'm in college. I'm this broke college student. I ain't no money. I ain't no job. Like I said, and I said to him, I said, well, look, man, I don't have the patience to be on nobody's block, so I ain't trying to sell it. But you could pay me to hold it for you. Gets it out of your mom's house. I'm not leaving it at my grandmother's. I could take it to a room on campus. You know what I mean? You pay me by the week to hold it. And I could make money that way. Immediately, he said, nope, wait a minute. And he goes in his bedroom and he comes back with the 1200. He says, take this. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, no. He said, what I'm doing, I don't want you nowhere near. I want you to take this. You got a passion for this. I already know where your heart is. Represent us in the music. Stay away from what I'm doing. And he gave it to me. Now, mind you, you think about this. Now you're talking about 1988. The 1200s at the time were $2,000 a piece. Now, and it was to the point where, because he didn't feel the need to buy the second one, he only had one. And he gave me that turntable. And I said, are you sure about this? He said, yep, take it home. So I go across the playground, I take it home, I walk in, and I'm sitting, I literally stared at it for an hour in disbelief. So I was like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? And I had a not 1200. It was a Technique belt drive type of deal. So I would put,
You could put the instrumental on the non-belt drive, on the belt drive, and then the 1200 you could scratch.
It did have like a little small rolling pitch where I could adjust between the 30, just a little bit, nothing like this, nothing that wide, but
yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, and I only had a few records at the time.
Right.
So I gotta make this work. And at the I had my realistic mixer, which ironically I did my entire WPTS run with. It was that same mixer I got the senior year of high school. I said, all right, well, I gotta make it work. And literally, as frustrated as I would get, I would sit there and I would work with these turntables. But I also knew that I'm like, well, I'm still writing rhymes. Well, I got to be my own DJ too. So now I really got to learn this. So I'm practicing and in the middle of the night, I'm writing rhymes and learning and practicing Then when I got more records, I would put speaker in the window, let my neighbors hear my mistakes. So anytime the needle would skip and the mix was bad, they heard it. So by the time I blew, they supported me. By the time I really took off, and was doing my thing, they was like, well, we remember when type of deal. But that's how I got into it. And ultimately, it became a thing where DJ money came. There was no, you know what I mean? As an MC, I'm putting out. As a DJ, it's coming in. So we're going to do this first. I'm still writing, and I'm going to still write, but we're going to make some money. We can make money with this. And he put me in that position. Now, mind you, he's my age. And he had the wherewithal to look out for me, to not want to see me wrapped up in what he eventually ran into. Which, to me, you know what I'm saying? I love him for that.
He might have saved your life.
He did. 100%. 100%. There's no question. And to this day, you know what I mean? I always thank him. Anytime, it's in my bio. It's in my bio about how he changed my trajectory from throwing rocks at the penitentiary to having a somewhat storied career. Is because of him. Now, mind you, he had never rocked a party, so I had to start learning a lot of what came out of DJing on my own. And so I started learning how to blend and how the blends work. And okay, well, I'm blending, I'm doing it this way. Something about this ain't quite right. And would navigate it. And then once I learned how to blend proper, I was like, I'm missing something. Then I became friends with a friend of mine named LJ from Youngstown. He came to Pittsburgh to go to Pitt. And him and his boys DJ, but he also rapped too. They did production. And through them, I learned the art of presentation. And that's what really helped me to graduate and elevate my DJ game, to take it to new stratospheres.
Was there anybody rocking in Pittsburgh that you could have learned from?
No.
Were there any DJs, like successful, even disco DJs at the time, that were, you know, on that level where they were blending with two turntables and killing it at parties?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Sly Jock, the legend. You know what I mean? He was one of the first that I really started listening to. Mel Plowden, again, rest in peace. He was doing it. I would watch him do it. But as far as would anybody have been willing to teach me, the answer is no. You know, so a lot of what it is, like literally I had to help myself before anybody else wanted to help me. And by the time they wanted to help me, it was too late. You know, I've already done what it is that you're willing to offer me now, type of deal.
How long did it take you to match that 1200 to have the second, to have two?
3 years. 3 years. So what ended up happening is at first I ended up getting another one, and then I got a second. So I took June's turntable and I left it home. So now I'm like, all right, since I have these are mine. Let's make it work. And that's what I started these. But the very first party I did, believe it or not, I did it with June's 12 and the not 1200.
Right.
You know, but
it's workable.
Right.
You can still blend with.
And I did. I didn't miss a beat.
Yeah. And you can learn to needle drop too, right? A lot of DJs would DJ with needle drops.
Yeah, that's next level.
Because you can't scratch it in.
Yeah, that was
unless you got
level.
a really strong arm to kind of push that fucker.
Right. Well, what I did to circumvent for the belt drive was, so before slip mats, right?
Yeah.
There was, you cut an album cover.
Yes.
And then you stick the wax paper underneath it.
Yeah.
And that's what I had on the not 1200. So I didn't really have to.
Oh, you didn't have to force it too hard because you had like a butter rug under there.
The problem was I had to watch how I released it because it wouldn't always catch. You know what I mean? It would if I pushed it too hard, so I had to develop a touch for it. So
they'll never understand that. They'll never understand or recognize that when they decide how much to pay us.
The struggle
to play
real.
The party.
Right. The struggle was
that
real.
will never factor into the contract. It should.
Right.
That has to be, you know, it's like all of the hours that you spend developing your craft, you know, and the I think about it with photographers. I think about it with any skilled profession.
Mm-hmm.
People pay you based on what they see, but it's the tip of the iceberg. Literally, there's this whole entire, years of practice that went into knowing what the next record needs to be, knowing how to actually host a party, knowing how to look like you're having a good time so that other people have a good time, knowing how to plug things in so that you don't make a loud ass noise.
Right.
and bust the speakers. Like there's a lot that goes into it.
I mean, the one thing about how people, more now so than ever, they want to pay the DJ based upon their perception. So their perception is all we do is play music. And that's not incorrect. I mean, that's very incorrect. That's not correct at all. If all we did was play music, why would you hire us? You know what I mean? You can pull Pandora and you could do, if all we do is play music, you can just play music. So I teach a DJ class on Sundays, right? And these are the things that I tell my students when I'm teaching them the business aspect of it, because out of everything with events, the DJ is the one that carries the most weight, but gets the least amount of respect. Because think about it. With the venue, it's non-negotiable. Either you pay what they want or you don't get it, right? With the caterer, it's non-negotiable. Either you pay what they want or you don't eat their food. The only one they want to haggle is the DJ. And that's the thing that I teach as far as the business with my students.
Meanwhile, that's the only thing that your guests will remember is whether or not people
100%.
actually enjoyed themselves. Nobody's going to talk about the food.
100%.
No, ain't nobody going to talk about the place settings, the decor. Nobody cares.
Right.
The only thing they're going to remember is, were they dancing all night? Was the DJ good? Basically, band and DJ.
Right.
That's it.
Did they have a good time? Were they vibing? Even if they didn't dance, did they have a good time? And that becomes real because, I mean, you sit there and you figure, man, when you do like weddings, a lot of times there's more older people than there are younger. So it's not necessarily like Nana and Papa are going to get up and dance. But if they're tapping their foot to your music and they're swaying, they're bobbing, to them, it's life. And it's up to us to set the mood, to set the environment, but they want to shortchange that. And what I teach my students is you have to be comfortable with saying no. If they're not willing to meet you where you should be met, then don't do it. Don't put yourself over, because if you do, what happens is they give you attitude like they paying you top dollar when they're not paying you market value.
Totally.
And yeah, I stand on that. That's how I run my business.
That's cool. How is the class hosted? Is it online or it's local in Pittsburgh?
It's in person.
Amazing.
It's in person. I actually teach at a mother house where I keep my records at. So,
cool.
Yep. So nobody is. It's a duplex. I have a duplex. So nobody is staying on that half of the house, and I teach out of that on Sundays.
The one I wanted to talk about, you're talking about how it's not just DJing. It's so much more. The DJing is just a tiny little part of it. Playing the music is like playing an iPod, whatever. The thing that blew me away when I saw you was at Selecta's birthday party. What was it, 50th?
Yeah, it's 50th.
You were this unbelievable host, this larger than life personality, able to control a room with packed to the rafters. I don't know what the cap is there, but it's thousands. And there's people from all over the country in there, and it was like the MC side of you was out there.
That's exactly where it comes from. And because in fact, most DJs can't do that. They can't get that done, but I have the MC, the rhyming MC's background. And as an MC, you have to, that's what MC is master of ceremony. But people tend to take those three words as nothing. If you really pay attention to what it is, you have to master the ceremony. You have to be the master of your domain as an MC. That's why there's a difference between a host and an MC. Hosts, there's hosts of people that If your license plate is number ABC 1234, you're double parked, your lights are on, and you might want to go move it before you get towed. That's what a host does. An MC moves the crowd and controls the whole domain. And that's something that, I mean, I've been blessed with, but it's also getting a feel for the people that you're dealing with. So a lot of what happened, like let's take Selecta's birthday. The part that nobody sees is I work the room. So I'm in there hugging folk, having conversations. Some people want to buy me drinks. All right, cool. We'll take a shot with you. And I'm having these conversations. So by the time I get on the stage, they're already with me. And that's the intangible portion that most people miss. When you're just a DJ or just play music, you are 100% relying on what you play. DJs make miscues all the time. And if you do not control that room, your miscue, oh my goodness, cataclysmic. Because you played the wrong song, but you don't know how to verbally bounce back from that in order to make sure that they stay with you. As an MC, to get over stage fright, one of the things I learned, you lock eyes with somebody and let them be your safe space, and that's home base. And then you work your way around when you're looking at people. And that was something I carried into public speaking and the like. And when I MC events nowadays, it's the same concept. So I'll get up there and if I'm looking at somebody and I'll comment, be like, if like it could be something that they're wearing or something that they're doing. If they're making a funny gesture, like if they're sitting there scratching their head with their thumb, like, oh, you might want to use them other 4 fingers, this, that, the third. And I'll say it on the mic.
Right.
And
Right.
once you make somebody chuckle, you got them.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
they're with you.
So it's like stand up. A lot.
Timing is everything.
Right.
Timing is key.
Getting inside of people's heads, allowing them to basically like
you make them a part
inhabiting
of the show.
their brain. So
you
you're
make
like
them a part of the show. You make it feel like
taking over their thoughts.
Yeah, they're in it. Without being on stage, they're in the show. And there's a difference between just DJing versus a performance. That's why a lot of times I don't always use the DJ portion because I'm an entertainer.
Right.
I'm using it all.
You could have somebody else do that. That's what you got your union brother in for. Maybe.
So even for the union portion, I'm the primary MC.
Right.
If it's an event that I'm not on, it's not to say, they'll say a few things here and there, but as far as that total room control.
But you don't have that feeling like, oh man, I could have done that a little different. I would have played a different record there. I would have done that transition a little bit. You kind of want to do it all.
The portion as a DJ, you're always going to do that. And once you learn how to DJ, you stop being able to know how to casually listen. It's difficult.
Terrible. You're at the mall and all of a sudden like something dope comes on. Like I remember one time I was actually in Pittsburgh. I was eating at Wendy's and Gordon Lightfoot. This record Sundown came on while I was eating my fries. I'm like, fuck, this is amazing. Sundown, you better take care. If I find you've been creeping round my back stair. Fuck, what is this? Like, yeah, everything turns into like, how could I work this in? What is this? Like, where does this come from? And there's no more passive listening.
No. Once you start learning how to DJ, that's what I tell my students, you'll never be the same.
What happened to the magazine? So Underground Hip Hop Video Magazine. It's a mouthful, but it's interesting because it was hip hop, and then what was the video portion, and what was it?
It was a video show. That was just the extended name of the video show. So it was for the short-minded, I would describe it as an uncut Rap City. You understand what I'm saying? When Rap City was still a thing. And I would explain it like that. But yeah, we were no holds barred because we were on cable access. We weren't bound by a lot of the rules that the major outlets were. So when Adam would send video tapes of the show to the labels, they were like, well, yo, you guys in Pittsburgh are doing it. Really? This is what? So we can send you the dirty video and you'll play it? Yep, we'll play that before we play you clean. So we started getting both copies of the videos. And then there were certain acts and labels that fell in love with us. Luke loved us. And, you know, like literally we could play their videos and get away with it on cable access. We got away with it playing a lot. Wu-Tang found us. They found us twice.
Wow.
They found me at the radio station where I got a copy of Protect the Neck before they got signed.
Wow.
So I still have that disc maker's copy of that record. And because that's the only one that has the instrumental on it. The one where they finally got signed to Loud, there's no instrumental on that. And it was a completely different B-side. Just so happened, at the same time they found Sandman. They found Underground. So he ended up getting the video. And what he ended up doing to show them that we could play the dirty version is he went into the studio, took the cassette that they sent him of the song of Protect Your Neck, re-edited the video and put the cussing back in it.
Yes.
And then sent it to them after we aired it. So he sent it to them in an episode. Oh, we can play. Then they started coming here. So they would come here regularly. They would never tell Whammo that he were here. You know what I mean? They would literally come for us.
The Wu-Tang Clan. Yeah.
They would come for us. So we had a relationship like this with them, and we still have a good relationship with them.
Amazing.
And
Raekwon, Jizza, everybody.
we really
Inspect the
'cause
deck.
we were primarily dealing with RZA, Meth would come here.
Wow.
RZA, Meth, and then
He still plays Pittsburgh. I'll
yeah.
see him pop up at Mr. Small's, like, yo, or Alter, like back in the day. I know he rocked Alter a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I mean, literally, they would come.
There's a history. And actually, Raekwon played. I remember seeing Raekwon
Yeah, he
at
came.
Smalls too.
Mm-hmm.
So
That was
yeah,
his first
Wu-Tang
time coming here.
show some love to Pittsburgh in ways that a lot of kind of hip hop acts will kind of circumnavigate, kind
Right.
of skip us over, hop over to
But
Cleveland,
here's the thing.
dip over to Cincy.
So Killer Army, which is one of their contingents, is out of Ohio,
yeah.
like literally 30 minutes away from here.
Yeah.
So they would come up all the time because they were that close to us. And we would deal with them. So in working with them, and RZA was cultivating them as well and getting them on and then sticking them with some of the other producers that was in the Wu, this is how we got tied into that entire network because we were the first
Wow.
to show them love all over.
There's so many celeb stories I have to ask because if you go on the Instagram for the video magazine,
Mhm.
you can see just,
Mm-hmm.
stars like
Mhm.
E40,
Mm-hmm.
Chuck D at the PTS studio.
Mm-hmm.
The drop when I was DJing on PTS, there's a Biggie Smalls drop. Did you get that one?
I did. I did. That was
Because
me.
he played here, right?
Yeah, he
Didn't
played
he
here
play-
in '94, but he never
yeah.
came to the station.
No.
I was on the station at the time, but we filmed that footage. We filmed that concert, and Adam still has it.
Whoa.
Matter of fact, and it's thank you for reminding me because the opening act. I'm gonna show you how small the planet is, right? So the opening act for Biggie was Rampage the Last Boy Scout, which was Busta's actual blood cousin, and with the Flip Mode Squad, his first lieutenant. Okay, so my man Ben was DJ Benetton was Rampage's DJ here. At the time, we didn't know each other, of course. But Ramp opened for him, and Ben was DJing for him. Ben just asked me for that footage. So I have to,
Wow.
I got to hit Adam
Wow.
for that.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that.
And then Big was performing. Big was killing it. And it was at a hotel over in Station Squares where the performance was. But yeah, so a lot of that was tied in. And then I met Ben in '96. And Ben was always with Busta. at that particular point. So he was tied into, he helped Busta start Flip Mode and all of that. So I got a bunch of promo vinyl from When Disaster Strikes, because by the time I met Ben, The Coming was already on its way out. But When Disaster Strikes was on its way in. So
Yeah. Busta is legendary to me because of the Dilla connection. You know, the fact that he would go and see, James Yancey and ask him for the hardest beats to rap on.
Right.
Give me the beats that nobody else can rap over. And then he
Right.
makes The Shining and fucking just
Right.
like all. It's just so cool
Yes.
to me.
Yes. But yep. So with the underground, more times than not, I was the primary interviewer for these. So these acts would talk to me. There were a couple acts I got into it with. Like literally, we almost agitated the gravel. And it was one legendary act that I had an issue with. And just disrespectful. And I wasn't a fan. And so immediately after, after so many words were thrown at me, like I was the type of person, and I'm always still that type of guy. I don't believe in arguing with men. If we got a problem, there's ways of handling that if we can't have a civil discussion. So, the whole starry-eyed portion of meeting this particular cat goes out the window. The Francis Street in me comes in. I'm like, man, you can kill this camera. I was like, yo, you not in New York. You ain't gotta go home. You do realize that, right? You're in Pittsburgh. And I was like, man, and I mean, we're at it, and we're borderline nose to nose. And, they people broke it up.
Wow.
Because my people was gonna let it happen. Because once they saw my face change, they knew what it was heading for. And then a couple times we went to New York. Almost got into it up there. It was wild, but
with the same crew.
No, completely different.
Totally different
yes.
issue.
So that one I will name drop. The other one I won't. God bless the dead. Got into it with Freaky Ty. He was high. I was drunk. And we're at Mad Lion's album release party.
Wow.
So this was in, let's say May.
Wow.
Let's say this is in May of whenever his album dropped. And Lost Boys white hot at this point. So, Freaky Ty wanted me to interview his man. I guess his man was rapping. I ain't know who his man was. I looked at him, and I ain't recognize him by it. But there was a line of people for me to interview. So the most that I could tell you is I was so drunk. I could tell you the ones that I remember. So I remember interviewing L.L. Scratch. I remember interviewing, let me see, he goes by Diamond the Artist now. That's why it took me a minute, because he done changed his name multiple times. He was EPMD's original DJ on the first single, but before the album. Before Kayla Boss, there was If the Beat is Fresh, then Diamond J will spin it. J Spin has to be that guy. I interviewed him. I interviewed King Son. Interviewed the Lost Boys. Interviewed a group that Rockefeller kept trying with, the Rangers. They were cool. It was mad cool. Now, as far as like the other 26, 27 acts, I don't remember.
Do you have all the footage? Do you have all the footage from
Sandman
Hip Hop Magazine? Do you have all the footage from
Sandman
the interviews?
those.
Everything.
Sandman has those.
Yeah. Is it on YouTube? Like, can you all post the stuff, or it's?
We can, and I don't know, to be quite frank. And this
or maybe you can sell it. Maybe you can like make a deal and kind of get the highlights onto a Netflix show, or I don't know.
There's folks that have loosely talked about wanting to do a documentary on us.
Right.
Nothing has come out of it as of yet. I mean, I've been hearing, oh yeah, we really want to do it. Oh yeah, cool.
But it was hot for, like, you guys had like Billboard awards, and there was some national recognition.
Well, let's say it right. We got 6 nominations, 6 Billboard nominations. We lost every time to Ralph McDaniel Video Music Box. But yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah, 6 nominations, and the industry loved us. The artists loved us. When they came here, they wanted to see us. We were a part of their tours. They wanted to see us.
maybe that's one of the reasons that people skip over Pittsburgh is there's nobody like that now.
Yeah, there's nothing like that now. Like literally, even if we wanted to try to bring it back, we could never be able to replicate what we did. It was literally, that was lightning in a bottle. And it was a thing at a time too.
Hip hop has changed, there's a different type of energy.
The whole industry, everything has changed, everything. But yeah, I mean, now, like one of the most notable interviews that I did, and a lot of people was like, for real? So I interviewed Jay-Z.
Oh, wow.
When he was on his Reasonable Doubt promo tour. Now, that interview is on, I do have that on one of my videotapes, and I do need to digitize it. But the picture is out there. I took with him, standing next to him.
Incredible.
Yeah, so there's a lot of these cats.
I remember seeing that record at PTS. I had my buddy MG with me, and he went through and found, he was like, look, I'm just going to spend the next 4 hours and find every ill record in the entire office and bring it to you.
That cabinet was...
And one of them was that, like, it was like it might have been a single with Jay-Z and somebody else where he was still, like, in the streets.
Okay.
Heavily. Okay. I can't remember. It was a different name, too. It was like Hove and whatever.
Yeah,
I'll come up with it, but
okay.
It was a cool record.
Right. But what years were you at WPTS?
2006 to 2010 or 11.
So
Marcus Harris brought me on. MH the Verb.
Okay.
Kind of brought me on. He was hip hop director for a little bit, and then Bonix taught me to DJ because he was at my fraternity. He was like one of the founders of the fraternity that I joined.
Nice.
But he had taken the Technics from the frat house. I never really out him for this enough. But if he would have left the techs, the 1200s, I could have learned on 1200s. I had to learn on belt drives because he had jacked them from the frat. He had used all the frat money.
Right.
And when he graduated, right? they were his. So.
Yeah.
So I had to learn on some bullshit.
The reason why I asked is because there was a huge cabinet that we used to store our records in.
Yeah.
Well, we had the artists that would come to Pittsburgh, they would sign the cabinet.
Ooh. Yeah.
Right. So when I moved back to Pittsburgh, because I lived in Atlanta for 2 years. When I moved back to Pittsburgh, I came to campus. It's like, yo, who I gotta talk to? I said, I got a question. Yeah. And found the GM. GM was a
Greg,
young guy, like not the current guy. No. He was like younger white guy, short. He was mad cool. I said, the cabinet that was in the back of Song and Dance. Yeah. I said, what happened to that? He said, oh man, we got rid of that old thing. I said, are you kidding me?
With all the autographs. Oh.
I said, where is it?
Jesus.
He said, oh no, it's gone. It's gone. I said, you don't understand what you did. I said, what you guys did. I said, I don't know whose call that was. I said, but you don't understand. I said, Jam Master Jay signed that. We had him and Onyx and Sugar, who was Sweet Tea, in the studio at this very same time because it was a promo tour. Because it was Jay's label. And my business partner, my radio station, almost got into it with Sticky Fingers from Onyx in the radio station because Sticky was spilling Hennessy in WPTS. It's like, man, you ain't supposed to be drinking. And at the time, my partner was the station manager. He's like, man, you ain't supposed to be drinking up here. And Sticky got belligerent. And now my business partner / my big little brothers, I call him 6'3", 300 pounds. Okay? Sticky Fingers is 5 foot whatever. Right. Don't weigh enough. Right. I said, man, don't hurt him in here. We ain't gonna mess around and end this radio show. This is during my radio show. But they signed the cabinet. Crazy. And this cabinet had so many artists that signed it. I wanted it. I wanted it for my house. Yeah. I was like, yo, I said, I don't give a damn what the university wants. I'll pay it. I want it. It was long gone. Long gone. Yeah, you should have taken it out in one of those big blue kind of moving tubs that we used to take the kegs into the dorms in. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know about the moving carts. I used to have to move my then girlfriend, now wife, every 4 months in them damn things. I hated them carts because then you had to fight to get them.
With the little wheels. It was terrible. Yes, like, give me a hand truck. Like, I'm a DJ. I know how to pilot that.
Right.
Terrible.
Right.
You could sneak anything in those things, though.
Yeah,
back
but
in the day. So the underground hip hop video magazine
mhm.
was a show that you shot live, or you were editing it and putting it together like in parts, and who were the people that were involved, and kind of
Oh,
like how did
okay.
it actually work?
Okay, so the creators and founders of the show was Adam, aka Mr. Sandman, and Les Bigelow. We just called him Biggs. So it was their concept for the show. The original two hosts um, were King Dice and Lord Vicious, right? So they started with them two because they were around. Dice was from McKeesport, Lord Vicious from the Hill. So they were originally the two hosts that they started the show with. And the way that the filming went was they would film the show. We would film the show like every Monday. I mean, not every Monday, every other Monday. Because it would take 2 weeks, like each episode ran 2 weeks. So it would take 2 weeks for the episodes to finally air. So we would film every other Monday type of deal. Well, anyway, what ended up happening was started the show with them too. But Adam had put feelers out to me through a couple of my friends. Because at this time, I'm white hot on WPTS. So I'm like Friday nights, if people wasn't booing me out their whip, they had music playing out of their houses. So I'm white hot. So he said, it's like, oh, you know him? Yeah. Tell him we want him on the show. So they would hit me, be like, yeah, man, my man got this video show. It's on Channel 21. I'm like, what? Channel 21. I didn't believe it. So, and it was a lot of it was tied, I guess, to the source of who was delivering the information.
Yeah.
So, and they did this for a year. Like literally, they came at me for a year through the same two dudes. So they keep saying, yo, my man Adam want to, you know what I'm saying, I want you to come down, man. Come, want to be on this video show. I said, video show. So when I finally listened to him, you know what I mean? When it finally resonated, let me say it like that. When it finally started resonating, I'm like, I could use something else to go with this. And the MCing, because now at this point I started producing too. It's a video show, huh? I said, what channel is it on again? And it's like, it come on Mondays at 11 p.m. Channel 21. All right. So one day I saw it. I'm like, this production is, whew. That's like it's, because it was always a strobe light. It was always strobe light action. I was like, oh man, this is bad. I said, they want me to do this? But then I would watch the videos and I would watch the promos. And because I mean, I'll put it to you like this. Realistically, it took me 2 months to watch one whole episode.
Oh wow.
Because I was like, I can't do this. And I'm like, so I watched it one night from start to finish. And I would see the promos, and they had a promo for safe sex. They had a bunch of strippers naked. So now you got my attention. And at the end of it, Dice would hold up this big prop condom. It was like a big condom hat. Adam wrote Jimmy on it. And Dice would be like, safe sex, wear your hats. At the end of this promo, I was like, yo, this show is wild as hell. So I called my man after I watched it and said, and this is the show they want me on? He's like, yeah, man, you fit right in. I said, you got a point. Next filming session I went, and I met Adam, and literally within 5 minutes, me and him clicked to new levels. Because we had a lot of things in common at that time. Of course, our love for the craft, our love for the art, love for the music. Then both of us were comic book nerds and played video games and were into anime. Man, we hit it all. So he's like, yo, you know what I'm saying? You interested in doing the show? Look, man, if you could do this one episode, if you don't like it after that, that's cool. I said, I'll do it. I said, so what's the parameters? You can say whatever you want. So again, remember, told you, if you tell me I have no boundaries, I'm going to test your no boundaries. So I said, whatever I want. You sure about that? Whatever you want. And I think I still have this first episode on tape. I cussed up a storm. Oh man, F-bombs.
Shit,
and
fuck, tit,
yeah,
horribles.
all of that.
All of them.
And it
Shit.
ran exactly like that.
Amazing.
I was like,
Yeah.
that's wow.
Like, yeah.
So I said, okay.
You had been on the radio, like, with all these handcuffs on.
Right, right. But like I said, I wanted to test his limits and see what I could get away with. And after that, I just, you know what I mean? I did self-refinery. You know what I mean? I said, all right, well, cool. I know what I can get away with. So now it's more conversational, but I bring the experience of being on radio. And at this particular point, so now I bring a new level of professionalism to this hood video show.
Right.
But it was the rawness of the show that not only the city loved, but the industry. Because it wasn't as neat and clean as Yo MTV Raps and Rhapsody. It was raw. It was gritty.
Did you have to be in Pittsburgh to see it?
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because
it wasn't syndicated. I guess that's the word, right?
Right. PCTV's range was literally confined within strict city limits.
Yep.
If you lived in Wilkinsburg, which once you got past a certain street, you couldn't see it.
Yeah.
But we hit 150,000 households.
Right.
We effectively during football season very well competed with Monday Night Football.
Wild. How many episodes were there?
I couldn't tell you how many episodes. I could just tell you we did this for 16 to 17 years.
Every 2 weeks, yeah. It'll add up.
What was wild was all of those Billboard nominations came in the 90s. Now, mind you, the show just started in 92. You figure we got 6 nominations in the 90s, so that now you're talking everywhere from 93 to 99. We're nominated, and we're running against, well, Ralph McDaniel's Video Music Box is storied in New York. It's legendary. And when I used to go to these conventions, I would watch it. And because of the access, like Ralph was so ingrained in the industry, the access that he had to people versus where he was in his borough. And I said, okay. I said, I get it. I said, I don't mind losing to him. But I saw some of the other shows we were up against. I said, well, I knew for certain we weren't losing to them. But we competed. When I say we competed with Monday Night Football, literally folks would go back and forth between the game and us.
Nope. Did you ever think about DJing with video or to ever get into it?
I was the very first to do it. When the software came out for Serato in 2010, it was called
Serato Video, right?
No. Scratch Live Video. And I still actually had a box for that.
Yeah.
It's called Scratch Live Video. I paid $200 for it. And then in order to record like the video sets, you had to go through an external dongle, then you had to stick like a flash drive on the back end of it. I still got this thing too. But I was doing it with video.
Yeah.
And we tried to put...
Because you already had all the videos for the show, right?
Yes. Yes. So I was already ahead of the game. This was before getting videos off of YouTube or before videos were being serviced in the pool was a thing. I already had videos because thanks to Adam and Biggs.
What about Union? What's the story there? Where did it, how did it come into play and kind of, talk about the members and kind of what they mean to you and how you think about that organization? That it's a DJ crew, right? Basically.
Right, 100%. So what ended up happening is, because like I was telling you, Phil and Selector had worked closest together for the longest because they were out in that lounge setting. But Selector and I knew each other the longest. You know what I mean? I've known him since he was 15. And I was 17, going on 18 when we met because we would sneak into WPTS and record records. This is before any of us became DJs. So I've known him since then, when he had hair and he was DJ White Knight. You know what I'm saying? He was, he looked like Search, a short version of MC Search. No glasses. Because he had the little cuts and stuff in his hair and he had the box, the whole thing when he had hair. But him and I have been friends that long. But him and Phil was the ones that was working together. Me, I was still, like I said, I was on the major club circuit and I was also doing arenas. So out of the DJing thing, they started it, and it was basically gonna be like a piggyback off of the different things they were doing at Shadow Lounge. So they had formed the group initially, and I think they had did um, 2 events by themselves, just them two, before I came into the picture. What ended up happening is they both double booked themselves, but they had the union booked at Brillo Box. So at the time, I wasn't, you know what I mean, I had purposely taken a break because at the time I was fighting court cases, dealing with my son, custody cases. So I was mentally fried. I wasn't really DJing too much of anything. But Phil called in the favors, like, look, man, select this and such and such. I won't get here until midnight. Can you cover for me? And I was like, well, what do you play? I said, because if it's any of that shit that I don't like to play, it's not happening. You know what I mean? And never mind the fact at that point I owed Phil a huge favor. So I would have done it anyway. Um, but I said, all right. So he told me what it was. He's like, nah, just get up there, do what you do. We not playing that nonsense. We're playing what we play. I said, you sure about that? So okay. So I get
What's
in there.
that nonsense?
At that time, it was about to start sliding into mumble rap.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It was mumble rap was on the cusp. It was on its way in. I wasn't feeling Future. I wasn't feeling
Waka
Flocka
Flocka
Flame.
Flame.
No, none of that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if this is what I got to spend, I'm not doing it
Yeah.
because I had just walked away from spinning at Savoy playing that type of stuff. And after a while, I just got bored with it. I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm cool. And I mean, literally, I had just stepped away from it when Phil hit me. And he was like, yo, I need you to do this. I was like, man, if it's that, I'm not doing it. I'm just telling you from the rip. I said, I just quit that. He's like, nah, that's not what it is. It's something different. So, okay. I said, you sure? He's like, yeah. It's all right. So I'm in there and I'm doing me. I'm basically doing it. But the people that were coming in were loving it. They came in, they're dancing, you know what I mean? They're bopping into the bar. So by the time Phil gets there, which was about 12:30, man, I had Brillo Box jumping by myself. But it's one of those things where, and shouts out to Cosmo, the owner proprietor of Brillo Box. Oh, he's always done me right. Anything I asked him for, I had. So it's like, yo, man, I said, I just need a mic with a stand to go with what I got here. I said, and I got you.
You like a boom stand when you rock?
Yeah, because I don't want to be able to have to lean or.
It's not for me, yeah.
You know
I need a boom.
Yeah, so I needed to come forward to work with me. So he gave me what I needed, and I was on go. So by the time Phil showed up, he was like, man, I'm not getting on. You got this. So at the end of the night, he was like, look, man, what do you think about joining me in Selector and starting this crew? I said, if the nights are like this, I'm in. Because I had a blast.
At Brillo.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Because all I was doing, I mean, literally, I was
great venue. Yeah, the upstairs room is perfect size, good sound, nice stage, big stage. Like, yeah, great.
I call it the upstairs basement party because that's how it feels to me. It's a basement party.
Yep, nice low ceiling.
Yep,
it's cool.
Yep. But and that's what I was just playing stuff that was vibing. I was vibing to, and it worked. And I mean, of course, I gave, I met him in the middle with commercials. Not like I sat there and played a whole bunch of albums because no. I understood the concept of playing for the people. Right. So I played for the people, but in the lane that I liked. Yeah. And we met each other. We met each other in the middle. The people loved me. I loved them. I loved the energy. They loved what I was giving them. I said, yeah, if this is what it's going to be, I'm all in. So the three of us started working together and we built the Union brand from the ground up. And it all came from us playing a wide variety of music. So, of course, it was the hip hop and it was way more songs. It was the R&B and it was way more songs. We incorporated disco, reggae, go-go. You know what I mean? And just like a lot of different genres of music. And we opened it up and we played the things that was not happening anywhere else in Pittsburgh. And because of it, we attracted a contingency of Pittsburgh that wanted to dance. And that was the thing. So everywhere else, everybody was too busy looking cute, their phone, standing on couches and shit. So that wasn't what we were doing. You came, you better have worn flat shoes, otherwise you're gonna pay for that. Cause you're gonna try and dance in these heels and your feet are gonna hurt. And same thing with the fellas in the hard bottoms. We're not doing that. You don't want to do that. You want to wear something that you can feel cool about sweating in, because it's gonna get hot in here. We're gonna move. And we built it based upon that, and people start telling their people, like, yo, we're not where you going, that's cool. We're going over here because they partying. You know what I mean? And then, of course, it also helped the fact that Brillo Box's drinks were as strong as arts. So I used to say, you know what I mean? You can get a arts drink with a dance floor in Brillo Box. That's it. Best time in the world. And what was so dope about our time at Brillo Box, and people don't understand it until I say it and they think about it. Bar none, uncontested, we had the only event in this city, public event, where we didn't need security.
You had people there that could hold it down if need be.
You know what ended up happening? Two things. Number one, with the music we played, we bored bad energy. So if they didn't want to hear that, they left. Number two, the people who were so protective at the vibe that we created policed themselves and the party. No security. We didn't need it. We bored bad energy.
But you were also playing on Butler or Lawrenceville or Bloomfield or whatever. You weren't playing in Hazelwood, Homewood.
We brought the hood out though. And
or the South Side even.
Yeah. I mean, when I tell you we brought the hood, we brought Garfield, we brought the Hill, we brought Homewood, we brought the butt end of North Side. We brought in all of them because of who we are. But those that wanted said mumble energy would leave. We weren't getting trapped in that. We were literally a dance party. So if you wanted to dance and have a good time, relax, you know what I'm saying, drop your shoulders and be yourself and not have to keep your head on a swivel, look over your shoulder, that's us. Everything else was everything else. And that still kind of holds true to this day as far as union events. Now, of course, we do have security because the venues come with them. You know what I mean? But the very first time, I'm going to tell you this is wild too. The very first time that we did the Arts Festival, and it was at the entrance to the Point, right next to KDKA. Were you there for that?
No, not that year. I was there this past year. I think they had Cut Chemist. And,
exactly. Okay, yep.
Charlie Tuna.
That was this past year.
Yeah.
So the one that we did, we were at the entrance to the Point. NDRE had just performed. People had to come past us to come out. They didn't leave. So we had them locked, gripped for 2 hours. The police saw what it was hitting for, and they left. They left one SUV as due diligence, but they left. And at that particular point, and I'm going to just say it how I mean it, Pittsburgh was at its most unified for those 2 hours. I'm talking every racial, socio-economical, cultural barrier, all of it came down for those 2 hours. I was legit proud to see that, because you would see, you know what I mean, older white folks gripped up with younger black folks, and then you would see some of the Eastern Indians with some of the Latinos, and it was wild, but it was fantastic, and it was all tied to the music that we play. We run that off. If you thinking that you're gonna sit here and hear that low vibrational music, that's not where we're at. That's not us. There's other places to go for that. Every other DJ in Pittsburgh is playing that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes to the lyrics, right? It's that next step when you're screening the songs that you're putting in your crates, whether it's in Serato or physical crate. You take it a step past just listening to the beat and making sure that it's a beat you like, but actually listen to the message. Are they talking about abusing drugs and women, or are they talking about elevation
Right.
and cultural, something? Also, I remember Bonix giving me a hard time about that. He was like, I forget, I don't think I want to say the exact quote, but it was, I think I was playing like Most Def Mathematics or something,
Mhm.
like some kind of like Black Star
Mm-hmm.
record, and it was like, yeah, nobody wants to hear music about.
Right,
I
right,
think,
right.
I
No, I
think the
mean,
word
and
was slavery or
don't
something.
get us wrong. A lot of what it is that we play overall is things that we know for certain that they know the words to.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So we create, and then the X factor is me with the mic. So now, where they may not initially be singing, or they may be just singing amongst themselves, well, now raise your voice. I want to hear you sing. And there'll be a lot of times when I'm on stage, if Selector is working with me, now he knows my cues. If I do this, sorry about that.
Okay.
If I do this, he knows to cut the music and let them sing.
I saw that a few times. That was dope. And then
And
it's not. Would you say it's also about getting away from hip hop too? Because I mean, a lot of the records I was hearing at Thunderbird were like yacht rock and like some it was like some throwbacks.
well, I mean, it's a gang of throwback music.
Yeah.
In fact, it's primarily, I would venture to say it's 98% throwback music.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that 2% has to be a strong 2% for it to not be. You understand what I'm saying? But otherwise, it ties into the sing along. And that's what it's all about. As long as I can keep you singing, then you're with me. And if you're singing, 9.5 times out of 10, you're dancing while you're singing. And that's the thing. So we would elevate it from us just DJing to now it's a performance. So now if I'm not on the wheels, I take the mic and I hit front stage. Now I'm with you. You need to be with me, type of deal. So that becomes the X factor in everything, is that added dimension. And with those two things, it's like you have to be there to party or you don't fit. And that's what it became as far as the union. Now, when we started adding, to your original question, when we started adding different members, it just became a thing. Well, the demand for each of the individual members is high. It was very high. Like we started doing, even more private events. So even though you might not necessarily see me on a flyer, there are things that we're doing. Like I did an event for PNC. I've done regular things for Duquesne Light, and you know what I mean. And so we have corporate clients that each of us deal with, and we'll do that on a private. But when we come together as the union, you know what I mean. That type of thing has to be properly scheduled, but we can't be everywhere at once. And then if a client is paying us something that's conflicting, one of us might have to drop depending on what the nature of the beast is. So we started digging into some of the best that are around. And we also wanted younger cats in the crew too. So the very next person out of the three of us that we added was TJ, based on experience. Then from TJ, we added Yamez. Yamez is a battle DJ.
Amazing. Yeah. We overlapped with our time in New York. He was
Mhm.
rocking with a crew called a Gold Whistle occasionally,
Mhm.
which was Cobra Crames, and Tiber. And so I would see him at afters with those two. I would see him at those events, and turntablist,
Right.
party rocker, amazing knowledge of Be More Club and
Right.
footwork, anthems, getting into the Jersey sound.
Right.
Just a really amazing DJ who I've
Yeah. And then
been trying to get on here for a while and
right,
striking out.
right. And then his work that he's done on Sway in the Morning.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then from Yamez, Phil had a relationship with Keegan, DJ KB. So Phil added him to the mix. And I'm like, okay, well, all of us technically are 40 and up. I said, all right, this is cute. I said, we need some young guns. We definitely need somebody. So that way, if we decide that we want to house the city one night, have the young guns with the younger cats, and then we do what we do at another venue, take all of that. So at that particular point, one of my mentees was QRX, who was in the Battle Gories battle.
He came in second. He got the
Right.
free press kit for Mo Knows Best.
Right.
Shout out to QRX. Legend. Been on the podcast.
Yeah,
Killed it.
saw him.
Yeah, dope.
Saw him. So he was one of my mentees, and I put him in front of, I let him touch turntables for the first time, which is when he decided he wanted to get them. Because before, when I met him, he was using this red controller, but he was a wizard with this thing. I would sit there, like literally, he would weave in and out of music like the New York DJs did.
The quick mix, yeah.
Right. I was like, wow. And it was, you know what I mean? He was fairly clean with it. So I would bring him around, but he was also around Phil through Phil's work that he would do off and on with One Hood. So he was familiar with him. So
Yeah.
I told Phil, I said, yeah, him. And then somehow Phil came across Slim the DJ, the biggest dude I know ever called Slim.
Yeah, this dude deserves an apology from me because he's an amazing DJ. I've seen him rock a number of times in Pittsburgh. I completely mixed him up with another dude that I knew from Pitt.
Mhm.
And during 2 different episodes, both the interview with Wade and Femi, I said that I knew that I knew Slim when he was when he was DJing at Pitt. I did not know him.
Right.
Know him now. He's dope. Wrong dude. I'm so sorry.
Right.
Mea culpa. Mea culpa.
Right. So yeah. So he was around. What was wild was I had met Slim at a battle. It was a DJ battle. Oh, here's the funny part. During the pandemic. So in this DJ battle, this pandemic DJ battle, I forget who put it on. I want to say it was the August Wilson Center.
Oh, dope. Yeah, another amazing, victory of historic preservation in the Hill.
Yes.
What a cool building. I can't wait to go inside. I can't believe I haven't yet.
Right.
There's also a opera house, which is people are working towards preserving in Pittsburgh that I should shout out because I think that's a work in progress that
It is.
people could actually like put money towards in order to save.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of them, but obviously you don't win them all. Like
right.
You know, lost the Syria Mosque and et cetera. 92, I think.
Absolutely. Until they really respect the historic value of these buildings.
That
is
fucking
when they get
cabinet.
saved.
That fucking cabinet. BTS.
My
I'm so mad.
Wow.
I'm so heated right now.
Right. I mean, that was major. So yeah, pandemic battle, Phil Selector, SMI Nate,
Wow.
Yamaz, Slim, and I want to say Soy Sauce was in it and
Wow.
one other DJ. So, and I emceed it. It was the first time I met Slim. And I still say the same thing. You the biggest dude I know named Slim. I said, when you gonna become big? You know, and he cracks up. So, but I liked what he was doing. And I said, Phil, yeah, he might be a good addition. Added him. And then what's funny is the way to think of Slim and QRX is kind of like the Ray and the Ghost of the Wu-Tang. Like them two do a lot of events together. And if you watch them play off of each other, it's crazy.
Dope.
Yep.
Yeah. Is Quality Remix their party together?
I'm not
Or
exactly
just
sure. Tall
QRX's?
Tees, I know is their party together.
Okay.
Tall Tees is their party together.
Yeah. And make sure you have fun.
Oh yeah, definitely those.
Shout out.
And then the last person that we added, and I'm making sure I think I got everybody, was Code Red from Whammo.
Oh, wow.
So he's a part of the squad.
Wow. Yeah. Because Whammo is dissolved.
No, it's still there.
Did it change ownership
Yes.
and stop playing hip hop?
No, I don't listen. To be quite frank, I don't know what they play.
Okay.
They're still there.
You-
It's just not in the same spot. They're at 107.107.3
Okay.
now. Like I said, I don't know what they play. Ever since Ever since I got fired the last time, I stopped turning on FM.
You didn't exactly go into it, but you said it was maybe for something you did on PTS, and then you talked about playing the Akinyele. Was that the
No.
connection there?
No. Nothing had nothing to do with it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
here's what ended up happening. So I had 3 stints with Whammo, right? No, this is real. So I had 3 stints with Whammo, and I never applied either time. At any point, I never really applied. I've eventually ended up filling out paperwork, but I never applied. The first time I worked for Whammo, I got a shout out from Bobito, Cool Bob Love, and Vibe Magazine as having the only hot hip hop show in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The very next day, Whammo called me. How'd y'all get my number? And it was my man. He's like, yo, Hurricane want to see you. I said, who the hell is Hurricane? Programming director here at Whammo, my boss. He want to see you. I said, for what? I don't work there. He's, nah. He want to see you. You got to come down here. Come down here tomorrow. Click. That's how I got down to Whammo the first time. So they was making all these grandiose promises that they didn't fulfill. So they was like, look, if you leave your radio show at WPTS, we'll give you a mix show here. You get to do almost everything that you're doing at WPTS except for the cussing. But you can play that type of music. You can get busy here. So when I got in, none of it materialized. And then when they changed the guard, I had fired sight unseen. But at this point, I was only a board op. They wouldn't, because in FM, if you open a mic, they got to pay you at a different scale, period. You know what I mean? They have to, like, literally, if you operate in the board, they can pay you at nothing. But if you open the mic, they got to pay you at union scale.
Meaning if you're talking on the mic at all. If you click the button that gets the mic live, basically.
The voice of the radio show, they have to pay you at union scale.
Wow, that's fascinating. So that's pretty much all the radio stations everywhere. 96.1 Kiss, like all that was all union. Interesting.
So that whole first run, people didn't even know I worked there. The only thing I managed to get out of there was a bunch of records. You know what I mean? Because they were, ironically, that was the second time I came into a situation where they was getting rid of all their vinyl. First time was at WPTS. That's where I really came up. They was getting rid of a lot of their major vinyl. So I got a lot of jazz records, rock records, and AC/DC and Grand Funk Railroad, a lot of original hip-hop breaks I got from WPTS.
All marked up with those Do Not Steal Sharpie markers.
Or the
WPTS on it, all over the covers and everything.
They gave them to me.
And with notes, too, which is dope. Like, the listening notes are on some of those. I may or may not have.
Right. Of course.
1 or 2.
Of course. You know, and listen, if you work there, a lot of them, you know what I'm saying, you definitely have some. But yeah, that was when I came in, Chicky that was the station manager, her name was Leslie Guerrero, never forget her either. Shouts out to Leslie. She was like, look, so we're getting rid of everything. She was like, if you want it, you could take it. If not, we're selling it. I said, yeah. Huh. So I took a lot of it and sold the rest.
Yeah.
I kept the money though. Broke collar student? No, yeah, I came up good.
Yeah.
But a lot of, that's how I got my hands on a lot of Miles Davis and Wes Montgomery. I'm like, yeah. PTS really kicked my record digging into overdrive by giving me the records.
How many do you think you have now?
Well, I couldn't tell you.
Hard to say.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands?
I wouldn't say tens of thousands, but definitely thousands.
Yeah. So one thing you mentioned was about a time when you weren't DJing as much.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a time when you had a straight job away from DJing, or do you still?
I've always had a 9 to 5. I just never talk about it. I don't like the company. So, you know, I don't give them any light, so I don't discuss them, but I've had it, so I have benefits. And the 9 to 5 pays the house bills, DJing pays for life. So I was able to travel out of the country off of the DJing money. You know, I spent a month in England off of that money. because I was properly paid.
Right.
But the 9 to 5, that's that every 2-week money. That's all right, cool. That pays Duquesne Light, that pays People's Gas, PWSA, and etc. So yeah, I've always had 9 to 5. I've been at the same job for 25 years. You know what I mean?
Was something that you studied for at Pitt?
Hell no. No. Literally what I went to Pitt for, I was doing, which is the radio.
You're a communications major.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you figure, and what was crazy was, so my initial major, it was going to be a dual major. It was going to be, I wanted to be an accountant, then go for communications. Dual major. So part business, part communications. Me and business calculus didn't get along. So it won, and I dropped that half of the major. So I just stuck with the communications. But what was wild was by the time I got into it, as a full communications major, well, I was already on WPTS. So I'm already getting media experience. So everything that I'm finally starting to study, well, I already understood the concept. I just had to learn the terminology for it. And then when I went to WAMO, you know what I mean? I understood different things, like even down to my FCC license, the yellow card. You know what I mean? I took all that stuff with me. And then when I got to underground hip hop, now I'm on television. You understand what I'm saying? So all of these things are things that I'm adding to. I'm already in the field while I'm studying the field. So underground didn't pay. You know what I mean? We weren't smart enough to understand the business at that time. We didn't understand how to make us money, because we should have been millionaires. We should be retired.
I think it would have been tough with that type of material. There was a lot of pushback against hip hop in general, especially hardcore hip hop, especially uncensored, kind of unedited, real energy.
Where do you think BET Uncut came from? Us. They studied us, and they got away with what they could get away with. But it went past the limits of the rap city. But you got to remember, we're showing up to Billboard Awards. They're talking about us in the industry from coast to coast, north and south. BET Uncut came from Underground Hip Hop Video Magazine. And a lot of people don't understand that. Now, the people from here get it, from Pittsburgh, but everywhere else in the country, they like, BET Uncut, oh, it's the greatest thing. And to us, it's an insult, because they still wasn't doing what we were doing. You know what I mean? They did a diet version. So there's Pure Cane, Sugar, versus Splenda. And BET Uncut was Splenda. If they would have seen our show, they would have never watched Uncut ever again, because of how we did what we did. We drew numbers. Numbers attract numbers. It's the law of attraction. We could have gotten the money, but we didn't have any paperwork in place. There was nothing in place. And we weren't adept to that end of the industry. It's just something that we kind of walked into and did it. Like, oh shit, we can really do this. We're really on TV doing this. And hey, wait a minute. Billboard Magazine is sending us? You know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah, congratulations, you've been nominated for an. Really? Us? And you can't see the show out there in California, but they're passing these tapes throughout the industry. You know what I mean? So for as small as the world is, the industry is smaller. Everybody almost knows everybody. And a lot of that was going, oh, yeah, we heard about you. You know what I mean? This, that, and the third. And then it would get to the point where when I'm talking to my record connects, now they're asking me about video shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, well, yeah, I heard you got this video show. Now we seen what you look like. So what about blah, 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 blah. And for the labels that had one person doing it all, because most labels had two. One had one for the record, one for the video. And the people who was promoting for the videos on the labels, completely different person, calling different people. So those that were smaller companies were like, yo, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, we seen your video show, man. Y'all really, that's on the air? It's like, no, we're sending you the version that has already played off of television. Like, we're sending you videotapes that we're taping at home
Right.
based on it running on TV. It's like, damn. It's like, all right, well, we got this video. All right, so we got this Too Short video, right? And it's called Top Down. And all the chicks are top naked. Y'all can play that? Immediately. Please send that. So my Jive Connect sent it to me. Adam, yo, go on, dog. I'm just telling you, you're going to want to run this. He put it in. He was like, yeah, we're running this today. You know what I mean? And it got to be like that. So law of attraction, this is how we wound up in places that most people couldn't get in. Like I told you at the top, Luke loved us. When we went to How Can I Be Down, this is one of my favorite stories to tell. It's funny. We went to How Can I Be Down. This was in South Beach. The very first How Can I Be Down was in South Beach. So we're down there with everybody in the industry, like everybody. So the next to the last night of the conference, Luke was having a big blowout. And the singer, Joe, was a new artist at the time opening for him in his club. Luke had a club down there. Well, I didn't go. When I saw how many people was going, like literally they were taking like charter Greyhound buses from the hotel to the club. And me and Easy Mo B looked at each other, it's like, man, we're not going to that. I said, I'm not going either. Me and him ended up staying at the hotel playing Madden. I was like, I'm not going. But Adam and Les and a couple of my compadres went who were on the trip. So they went. This line is wrapped around the club 3 times. Soon as Adam and squad show up, Pittsburgh cut through everybody.
Right.
Teddy Riley couldn't get in.
Wow.
Teddy's like, you know who I am? It's like, they the VIPs. We know who you are. Either get in line or you not getting in. He didn't get in. He didn't get in that night. And that night it was smacking.
Yep.
But I didn't go. I saw the video footage later. But to the original point, it's that type of thing. If we would have had paperwork in place, there would have been checks cut. But we just did it. It's just something that we just did. And out of all of the things that we did surrounding that show, that's the only regret that any of us have, is just not having the smarts, not doing the homework on that end of the industry.
Yeah. I mean, I always think about it like you take much more away from these experiences in terms of what you learn and, you know, the person that you are after having experienced and learned from all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
That value is so much greater than anything that you could have, you know, gotten from the, you know, the efforts.
We did, man. Because, I mean, honestly, between WPTS and Underground, we became connected through so many artists. So, like I told you, the initial story about how me and Freaky Ty bumped heads, later that year, they came to Pittsburgh. And it was immediately deaded on sight. Real recognized reels, like, man, what happened in New York, that was New York. It's over. And we became friends.
Nice.
And so when Ty got killed, you know what I mean, we felt that, man. Because they were talking about, like, literally, they kept coming back and forth to Pittsburgh at this point. Like, yo, we want to set up shop here. We, you know, there's a few things we want to do, you know, and we love what y'all doing. We need y'all on our team. It's like, say less, you know? And we made these type of connections. Like, woo, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's, you know, we had all, like, Redman would come see us. And we got into places that a lot of people couldn't get into, just doing what we did. And that's just us just being us, just doing whatever.
Did you ever release an album of your raps?
No, I didn't. Once I started getting heavier into DJing, very heavy, and I didn't have the time to produce myself anymore. You know what I mean? Because now the gigs are picking up and I'm making this money. Money is a great blinder. It's a very good blinder. And you know what I mean? Once I started making all of this money DJing, you know, the whole desire to run to the studio to record and all this other You know what I mean? It wasn't as urgent anymore. But what was wild was, I mean, I know he's in a lot of trouble now, but before he became who he is, early in his career, and when I was still trying to get on, Puffy gave me some of the best advice ever. This is when he was still at Uptown. And I was like, look, man, I said, here's the thing. I'm an MC. Yeah, I DJ, and yeah, I'm playing all y'all records on air, and I'm helping y'all. But I'm trying to get to where they're at. How can I get y'all to really start listening? And he gave me the illest advice, and it worked. He said, look, when it comes down to a song that they really need you to push for them because they were unsure of it, tell them you can't play the record until they give you an ear. And I had never thought of that before. And like I said, it worked. It got me in front of 3 labels. And it didn't pan out. It didn't pan out. So I was like, all right, well, I got to go back. But the whole go back nature of it just never really happened. It's like, nah, I'm up here DJing this and this.
Yeah. This was before Blakk Steel. This is Chili.
Well, no, I mean, at this particular point, now this is the transition.
Yeah.
Because I was DJing as Chili Moses as well.
Yeah.
But I was also rhyming. But then when the name changed, I turned up my writing ability. So I would still write. It's just I didn't have time to make the beats anymore. You know what I mean? And wouldn't nobody produce me. You know what I mean? And wouldn't nobody make the music for me. So it just became a thing where it was like, I'll kind of get to it when I get to it. But I was just, and I still have a lot of these notebooks. I still, all these raps.
Yeah.
It's in my other house. So I would just write and I would write and I would write. And I would continue to write. And then every now and then there would be a local artist or whatever that would want to ask me for a cameo if they knew that I spit. Until I got in the studio and I spit. They'd be like, yeah, I'm not following that. You got to go last.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you are on a couple records with other people?
Mhm.
Okay. So you have some features.
Yes.
That's what's up.
Yes.
As Blakk Steel?
Yes.
Dope.
And in fact, there's one that's out now. It was just recently put out. Well, recently. No, I have to say put out because I don't think Dice originally released the record. But somehow this guy over in it's either Germany or France, somebody overseas, got hold of this record. And I think Dice gave it to him. And they worked out a deal where he released this album on vinyl, and I'm on it.
Oh, dope.
And so he not Dice, the guy, somehow I saw it, but he posted a snippet and posted it on Facebook. And out of all the portions of it, it's my verse.
Let's go.
So I'm like, yo, I said, I jumped in the comment section. I said, where did you get this song? Where did you get my verse? You need to talk to me.
It's $100 every time. Every time that gets played.
So, I mean, and it was more curious than anything.
Right.
So, because unfortunately I let my ASCAP paperwork expire.
Yeah, of course.
Which, and there's another song that also my man Dice, he released an album called Son of the City, and I'm on that too. That was like one of my last recorded verses in 2007. And the song is called, I think it's called We Came to Party. Well, anyway, somehow I Googled every now and then I'll Google myself. And it came up through Amazon. First off, no one told me that the song was ever released.
You're just searching your government or searching Blakk Steel?
Blakk Steel. Every now and then I search Blakk Steel to see what comes
2
up.
2 Ks.
2 Ks, no Cs.
Right.
So the notion behind it is, I spell it with 2 Ks because I'll kick your ass twice when I'm on the mic device, and no Cs because you can't see me with the skill.
Let's go.
So this song was, it popped up. I said, why didn't they tell me it was out? So I hit Dice immediately. I said, Dice, are we having this conversation now or right now about We Came to Party? He's like, what are you talking about, son? I said, why didn't you tell me you released it?
This Paradise Gray?
No.
Who's
This is
Dice?
King Dice from McKeesport.
Okay.
So I said, look, dude. I said, if you want to put this shit out, man, you need to start telling me. Because if this is spinning, I said, I don't know how many you sold. But I kind of, you know what I mean? I would have renewed my publishing. I would have renewed my ASCAP.
Right.
I said, this is kind of good for me to know. He was like, oh, my bad, kid. I mean, it's just, it was on the album. I said, it ain't on the version of the album that you gave me. Because only thing I did was I recorded the verse, one take, mind you, and I left. Never heard the song in completion.
That's how it works.
And the next time I hear it,
it's from Germany.
Well, no, this one that was Amazon, but the Germany joint, I recorded that in 95.
Yeah. Wow.
And I want to say it was 2021, 2022. Did this just get released on vinyl? I'm like, yo, I said, I need that album. I said, I need the whole album. He was like, well, I can send you the file of your song. I said, fine, I'll split the difference. I said, I really want the album because the album that they put out on him, I have it on tape, which does include that song, but I think he did a remastering. That's why I wanted the album.
Yeah.
But I said, yeah, I kind of need that. So he sent me the file of that song. That's it, though. He ain't sent me the rest of it. I said, Dice, I said, I'm not paying for it. And now that I think about it, now I have to call him. I need my 2 copies of that album because I'm on it. So I do have, like, literally, if folks would ask me to come to the studio, I come, I do my thing, and I go. So I never really know exactly what comes of it unless it pops up on me. Because there's things, it's coming out on such and such and such, and that never happens. But yeah, so I do. I have features floating. I have a 2007 verse, and I have a 95, 96 verse floating.
Let's go. What continues to inspire you creatively?
I'm hip hop to the casket drop. That's just in my core. But as far as the craft of DJing, that's it. I love the craft. I love the different ways that it's presented when it's presented properly. So there's cats that I study as far as different things, but I'm never going to get to the point of doing what they're doing. Because in order to get to where they are, I would have to lock myself in a room, and certain aspects of my life I would have to cut off. Yeah, I'm not doing that. So,
fatherhood.
Man, yeah, listen, I'm like, nah, son, I can't raise you right now. You go to school on your own, here's some lunch money, that's it. But
that's how I feel with the podcast sometimes.
Yeah, listen, I get it.
There's always going to be a balance.
Yeah. So I split the difference as far as my DJing. I mean, I do still practice, and I do a lot of online, and then I do shows on my radio station that I own. So
what's the story with the station? How does it work? Where do you tune in?
And what are
you doing with it?
The beautiful thing is we got an app for that. We legit have an app. I didn't want to do it if we didn't have an app. But the format of the radio station is urban adult contemporary. So it's primary, adult contemporary means it's based in old school. It's rooted. Now, there's some new music that's on there, but it got to be the dopest of the dope. And it's worldwide. I was listening to it off and on my honeymoon in Cancun. So there's an app for that. I co-own it with my partner, Jimmy Fingers out of DC. And ironically, he was somebody that I taught how to DJ down at WPTS, because that's where he got his start. But we became best friends, like brothers, and we started this radio station. I had been streaming through various streams online since 2014. And myself and Jimmy Fingers was on another streaming platform out of DC, and we weren't fans of how the owners were handling it. So we decided to part ways, no animosity, but yeah, we're not rolling like that. This is your show. We can't tell you how to run it. We're done. But we didn't want to stop streaming. So we came up with an idea. Well, what if we start our own radio show? Our own radio station. I said, if it's economical, I don't see why not. You know, and he did the research, did the legwork on it, and came back to me like 2 weeks later. I had all this information, and we got with a company that is out of England. Um, and with the setup that we have with them, it comes, you know what I mean, the radio station comes with an app. You know what I mean? Once you, because we got the mid tier with them. So mid tier or top tier comes with an app. We didn't see a need to go with the top tier as of yet, since we were just starting. So we went with the mid tier, got the app, and me just running my mouth and being the type of creative that I am, I came up with the name because he was like, well, what should we call it? I'm sitting there laying on my couch in my living room. Man, I don't know. We can call it anything. I don't know. Shit. What? Digital analog radio. You know, we started from the vinyl. Now we everywhere. He said, yo, I like that. And literally, it just came to me just like that. But I just threw that out as an example. It's just an example stuck. And even down with the slogan, it all stuck. And as far as like the different formats of music that we wanted on it, the different genres rather, we agreed to all of it. We didn't want gospel. You know what I'm saying? We definitely didn't want trap. We didn't want to chase FM and satellite non-specialty show trends. We didn't want none of that. We wanted other things. So we wanted the music that we were into. Now, in place of a lot of things, because my partner, he's a gentle giant. He likes neo soul. He's heavy in neo soul. Like a lot of things that Jimmy plays.
Yeah, he loves that. The Dilla.
He's getting
Soul
it from
Aquarians,
him.
Questloves.
He's learning it from him based on some of the things that he's buying.
Whoa.
So my partner has been on neo soul before it had a real term. And that's 94.
Jimmy is learning from your partner on digital analog.
Because he buys a lot of the same stuff that he buys. Now, don't get me wrong, Jimmy listens to certain things, excuse me, on his own, but he's buying a lot of the same music that my partner has.
Dope.
And my partner has incorporated that into the radio station. So there's that. Then, of course, there's, you know what I mean, some commercial R&B, some commercial and album cut hip hop. But the only thing about what we did was we made sure that our regular rotation is clean. Now, if it's a specialty show, you do what you do, but the rotation is clean. So it's neo soul, R&B, hip hop. Sunday morning is jazz in place of what would have been gospel. We have a go-go show on Saturdays with the DJ of that show is an authentic go-go drummer / DJ out of DC. So it don't get no more pure than that. Monday through Fridays, we do what is called Sounds of the Diaspora because my partner's Caribbean. And so we do roots, we do dance hall, we do soca, we do all that from noon to 2, Monday through Friday.
Is this programmed 24/7?
Yes. Yes.
365.
Yes.
There's music on your app.
Yes. There's music on right now.
What percentage of it is live DJ?
It's a small percentage right now.
Yeah.
Simply because we can't really afford to pay anybody at the moment. Right now, for us, the radio station is a bill because we're not running any commercials.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we're not, but we have to look to, that's something that him and I are in the process of talking. So you guys are hearing it first. We're in the process of trying to figure out how we're going to handle this. Do we want to deal with commercials or do we just want to just deal with sponsorship of a show to bring money in to offset costs?
Yeah, the sponsors are huge for the podcast space. I mean, obviously that's where I'm trying to take it eventually. Right. I've had a few offers, but I'd love to just have like one or two that kind of like the Tetragrammatron style, the Rick Rubin, how he only works really with 2 or 3 people, and then they sponsor every show. Right. And you know the ads are real clean, just very in brand, so they sound like he's reading every single one. It's just with music in the background. It's almost enjoyable to listen to these advertisements.
Right.
That's the way ads should be.
Absolutely.
We should not be watching ads that make us angry or that we hate. I mean, the YouTube where you're just waiting to click that button and you just can't stand it. And that is not the way this.
No.
That's really not the way advertisements are meant to work.
Right.
It's supposed to be stuff that you're already interested in, and it just
Right.
gives you a little more advice about like
Absolutely.
something that you might want to buy. It's
Right.
almost like it really should be informing you
Mhm.
in a way. So it's kind of
Yep.
the way our attention is pulled now. It's
Right.
really it's pretty distressing in a lot of
Right.
ways.
Right.
It feels like abusive a
Mhm.
lot of times, the way
Yeah.
ads work.
Right. Absolutely.
Even billboards can be
Yeah,
like very
it's
abusive when you're
very
driving down the
impositional.
street.
It's very imposing. Just
Have you thought about dead babies recently?
right.
I'm driving to work right now.
Yeah, I'm not interested in this. You know, but yeah. So I mean, and that's something that that's literally. I mean, that's really like a fresh hot button topic between him and I. We got to work that one out. But now, as far as like the live programming, well, what we have is okay. So myself, I'll do 2 to 3 shows a week. He does a show on Sunday nights from 8 to 10, and it's primarily, like I said, based in neo soul. We got a good brother of ours. His name is DJ One Love. He does Wednesdays from noon to 2, the old school lunch bag mix. So it's like, lunchtime old school party. We have a DJ, a Grenadian DJ, because my partner's also Grenadian. We have a Grenadian DJ out of Toronto named Vinyl Touch, and he does Fridays from noon to 2, and he plays everything from R&B up to soca in those 2 hours. I mean, he hits everything, and then he has this accent with this international drawl. So with his skill set and his voice, I recruited him. So we have him. We got a good friend of ours out of Baltimore, Harvey Dent. On Thursday evenings, he does flips, edits, and B-sides. So it's all remix music from 5 to 7 on Thursdays. But and then we have DJ Thumper, who has the Go-Go show on Saturdays at 4 p.m.
Sick.
We have somebody, excuse me, that was talking about potentially taking over our Quiet Storm show that we have running Sunday nights through Thursday nights from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. It's all love music. You know what I mean? Something that is absent on FM radio. We bring that back. And the show is called The Love Movement because we put the love back in the music. And the one thing about our radio station, of course, you can listen to it through tablet, desktop, laptop, your phone, etc. But if you pull it up through the app, you can see exactly what the radio station has played the hour before you came in. I don't know nobody else that's doing that.
That's cool.
And you can see the different songs that we're playing. And we currently have a database, because we just did the math on this. We got a database of over 2,300 songs.
I feel like it'd be really dope, almost resource for DJs too. Like if I know a lot of DJs listen to this podcast, that could be big for you. You're saying you can see the hour set list basically?
You can see
when you tune in on the app. That's pretty dope.
Yep. So
Digital
if there was a
analog
live
radio.
show, it would say whoever live plus the music that played either before or after them.
Yeah.
So when you come on, there's the song that'll be on when you come on, and then it goes back an hour of songs that were played. So, and again, that's the app. So we're about to make an update to the app where whenever anybody goes live or with a notification, it's going to tell you. Like, hey, you can check in.
Dope.
So the app looks a little something like this.
Oh, shit.
And then when you go to song history, you can literally just scroll it and it'll tell you, like, okay, so it's currently playing Escape, My Little Secret, because now we're in the Love Movement hours. And the drop for the Love Movement has just played, but you can see all that.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'd love to see the Neo Soul and the Love Supreme or what did you, the Quiet Storm?
Yeah, it's
joints.
called the
Those would
Love
be dope.
Movement.
Yeah,
Yep.
that would be really cool.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, we went and we put a lot of things, like even on the back end of the Love Movement, I think it's either 30 minutes or an hour of live music. So it could be like Erykah Badu has a live song, Luther Vandross. We pull like different live songs from different artists because we have a bunch of live albums, and we'll play it for like about 30 minutes to an hour just all live music. And it was something that he wanted to do, which, I wasn't against it. It's like, why
Yeah.
not? Let's try it. It's ours. We can experiment and see how we feel about it. But basically, that's what it is. And like I said, it's worldwide. I listen to it in Cancun, even with spotty service.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the internet is magical. It's an amazing tool, and it we better use it to heal the world and not splinter ourselves further apart from each other.
Right. And what's crazy is my fan base, specifically for me, is everybody outside of Pittsburgh. Pittsburghers really don't listen to me on my radio station. So I have a contingency that listens to me in DC, but then I have people overseas, from the Samoan Islands. Madrid would check in heavy. On the after replay, I get Nairobi. I get different cities in Germany. I get Paris, France. I get different spots in England. It's worldwide. And then I get spots in the South, spots out West. Kansas pops up on a regular basis. I've never set foot in Kansas.
Let's go.
Everything but home, which is fine. You know what I mean? Because I've been in this industry long enough to know that it's the strangers that'll get you right. But we still push the station, and this is our 4th year
Wow.
of the radio station.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
But we still never really have yet to do, we still haven't done like the major push for it yet. So we want to get some of these new features into the app before we do. And then we're going to blast it.
I love it. How do people get involved if they want to find out more about what you're up to and want to follow you online?
Consistency and branding. Blakk Steel on Instagram, Blakk Steel on X, blacksteel.com. You know what I'm saying? It's a
BLAKKSTEEL.com.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yep. So all of that stuff I keep consistency and branding. And to me, I always thought that was important. And which is good is about the spelling is only one of me.
Well, you are absolutely appreciated, your time and what you do here in Pittsburgh. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Let's get a picture.